Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a seriously brilliant strategy for reaching agreements without the usual, well, headache. If you've ever found yourself completely deadlocked in an argument, and honestly, who hasn't? Whether you're negotiating some multi-million-dollar business contract or just bickering over whose turn it is to take out the trash, you know exactly how frustrating that tension can be. But what if there was a simple, structured way to just bypass all of that? That is exactly what we're looking at today with this concept of the fair ruler. Okay, let's dive into this and uncover how you can transform your everyday disputes into absolutely seamless agreements.
It's a question we face almost every single day, right? How do you decide what's fair without a fight? It sounds so simple on paper, but in practice, human emotions get involved and make it incredibly complicated. To really understand this, I want you to picture a classic high-stakes standoff. Imagine two students in a classroom, Sam and Mia. They are staring each other down, and right between them is a brand new, highly coveted set of the absolute best classroom markers. Both of them want to use those markers right now. It is the ultimate standoff. No one wants to give in. The tension is rising. So, how do they solve this without it turning into a full-blown meltdown?
Let's break down the anatomy of this conflict. On side A, we have Sam. He wants the best markers first. And on side B, we have Mia, who also wants the best markers first. What we have here is an immediate, direct clash of personal wants. When a negotiation is purely based on what one person desires versus what another person desires, it instantly creates a zero-sum game. Basically, if Sam gets the markers, Mia loses. If Mia gets them, Sam loses. Whenever you base a dispute entirely on subjective feelings and personal wants, someone is literally bound to lose. And, well, that is exactly where feelings get hurt and things escalate.
But then, Mia does something incredibly smart here. Honestly, it's brilliant. Instead of digging her heels in and arguing about why she deserves the markers more, she says, let's check the classroom chart. It says we take turns for 10 minutes. That's the fair rule. This beautifully illustrates how you can completely flip the landscape of a disagreement. Mia cleverly shifts the entire dynamic away from their subjective feelings, what she wants versus what Sam wants, and points directly to a pre-established neutral rule. By bringing that classroom chart into the mix, she completely removes her own ego from the equation. She isn't telling Sam what to do, she's letting the environment guide them.
Now, pay attention to Sam's reaction here. He instantly responds with, okay, the clock is our fair ruler. I'll go after the timer beeps. Just like that, the conflict is over. Done. Sam immediately agrees to wait for the timer. This perfectly demonstrates just how fast a conflict de-escalates when a neutral standard takes over the negotiation. See, Sam doesn't feel like he's surrendering to Mia. He doesn't feel defeated by her personal demands. Instead, he recognizes the timer as an external fair measure. The tension just evaporates because that battle of wills is replaced by a simple, shared acknowledgement of the clock.
So, here is the absolutely crucial psychological magic trick that's happening. No one back down to the other person. They back down to the rule. In any negotiation, saving face is massively important. I mean, people will often keep arguing just to avoid looking like they lost. But in this scenario, neither person lost face. Sam didn't surrender to Mia, and Mia didn't surrender to Sam. Instead, they both willingly submitted to an unbiased system. By transferring the authority from their own egos to an external rule, they protected their relationship and totally sidestepped the bitterness that usually comes after a forced compromise.
And that brings us to the formal academic theory behind this incredibly practical tool: objective criteria. You can think of this as your ultimate shortcut in any argument. By definition, objective criteria is just a fair rule or unbiased standard that everyone agrees on to resolve a dispute. It simplifies the entire process of reaching an agreement. Whether it's a classroom chart, the Kelley Blue Book value for a car, or even a local law, adopting a fair ruler means you are letting the unbiased standard do the heavy lifting for you. It resolves the dispute without anyone having to force their personal will over the other person.
So let's take this theory and see how it builds into a repeatable, step-by-step process you can actually use in your own life. Here are the core mechanics. Step 1. Ditch personal desires. You have to recognize when an argument is just about what you want versus what they want and deliberately step back from it. Step 2. Find unbiased standards. Look for a pre-established rule, just like Mia did with the chart, or seek out some external data that both sides can respect. And finally, step 3. Let the impartial system decide. Once you've agreed on the standard, like setting that 10-minute timer, you let it dictate the outcome. Implementing this framework honestly gives you a roadmap out of almost any deadlock. To really drive this home, let's contrast these two very different paradigms. On one side, we've got personal desires. These are highly subjective, and let's face it, super emotional.
When you argue from this place, you're practically inviting conflict. But on the other side, we have unbiased standards, which are objective and neutral. Shifting authority from subjective wants to these neutral benchmarks is a true game changer. It effectively removes the potential for all that personal animosity. You're no longer fighting the person across from you. Instead, you're both sitting on the same side of the table, looking at the benchmark together. It's like a giant puzzle you're solving as a team. It magically transforms adversaries into problem solvers.
If you take away literally just one phrase from our entire explainer today, let it be this: the rule is the boss, not a person. This is such a memorable, sticky takeaway because it perfectly captures why using neutral benchmarks makes cooperation so incredibly seamless. When the rule is the boss, the outcome is determined by an impartial system. Nobody feels bullied, nobody feels taken advantage of. The agreed-upon rule governs the situation entirely, which makes everyone feel respected and, most importantly, treated fairly. It really is the ultimate shortcut to simple, peaceful agreements.
So as we wrap up our analysis of this concept, I want to turn this directly over to you. Take a second and think about a disagreement you are facing right now, or maybe one you know is just around the corner. In your next conflict, what will be your fair ruler? Will it be a timer, a set of industry standards, a pre-written agreement? Find your objective criteria, let the rule be the boss, and just watch how quickly the fight disappears. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this empowers you to negotiate a little smarter and a whole lot more peacefully next time.